Good morning, everyone, and welcome to all in this online national webinar on population and emerging issues of the development conducted by our Arts, Commerce, and Science College only, Vikramgarh district, Palghar. First of all, I welcome to all of you. I am very much thankful to Honorable Vijay Patil Sahib, President of our Sanjeevana Gramin Vaidyakiya and Samajik Sahayata Pratishthan Onde, as well as Chairman of our college, and Principal Dr. H.M. Pednekar sir for organizing this national webinar. So we are going to start the webinar. Just I request to Mahale sir, please start the webinar with the national anthem. Thank you one and all. Bharat Mata Ki Jai. And now I request to the Secretary of Sanjeevan Gramin Vaidyakiya and Samajik Sahayata Pratishthan, as well as Head of the Department of Chemistry of our college, Dr. Chetna Patil, Madam, please say something about our college as well as about this event, about this national webinar. Please, Dr. Chetna Patil, Madam.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, everyone. Respected Dongre sir, respected Pednekar sir, and all the participants. I'm here to give some institutional information. Our institution, Sanjeevan Gramin Vaidyakiya Samajik Sahayata Pratishthan, established Arts, Commerce, and Science College in this very tribal area of Palghar district. The institute established in the year 2002. We started this college only with students, and now we have near about 800 students. Near about 95% of the students belong to the scheduled tribe. Ever since the establishment, it has been playing an instrumental role in disseminating higher education among the tribal people of this district. Thousands of students are graduated, post-graduated, and some of them have also cleared NET, SET, and few are PhD also. Many of them are working in various sectors. In spite of situating in tribal area, all our staff are always trying to catch up the recent technology, and they try to implement this to our students. Even today's webinar about the population and emerging issues, it is very helpful as it is the recent issue of this generation. I'm thankful to the Department of Geography, Principal Sir, and also I welcome Dr. Professor Dongre Sir and all the participants from management and institute of our college. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam, for introducing about our college as well as about this event, about the national webinar. Now, there is an introduction of the today's resource person. Today we got very special resource person, Dr. Prakash Dongre. So now I am very much thankful for the organizers that they have given me the opportunity to introduce about the today's resource person, Dr. Prakash Dongre, Associate Professor, Department of Geography, Nagindas Khandwala College, Mumbai. He completed his graduation with first class in geography from the University of Mumbai in 1991. Since 1992, he has been teaching the subject at undergraduate and postgraduate level at the Nagindas Khandwala College, Mumbai. He is faculty for Garware Institute and MCGM initiated PG diploma course on disaster management. He is recognized PhD guide for the University of Mumbai and 6 students are pursuing PhD under him. He is well known among his students for his teaching of physical geography and environmental studies. His research specialization is in environmental geography. For his doctoral thesis, he has carried out an extensive field study work on forest of the Konkan region of Maharashtra. He had published a reference book and co-authored 40 textbooks on environmental studies and geography for various courses in the states of Maharashtra, Gujarat, and Goa. He has attended as well as chaired the sessions in more than 25 conferences at national and international level and published more than 18 research papers. He had given an interview on Doordarshan on the eve of World Population Day in July 2018. Currently, he is a member of the Board of Studies in Geography and Environmental Studies in the Nagindas Khandwala College, Mithibai College, Modern College, and University of Mumbai also. Sir, especially say something about his that he is my very good friend, and whenever I have got any problem, within a second, okay, sir, he has solved my problems as well as guided time to time. So there is a lot of near about 11 pages, sir's biodata is there, but due to the time limit, it is not possible to me read each and everything. So without taking any time, I request to Dr. Prakash Dongre sir, please proceed for further. Dr. Prakash Dongre sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I will just go to the presentation screen. Naire sir, is my screen is visible to you?
Yes, your screen is visible, sir.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
So very good morning to all of you. Namaskar. Very respected patron VG Patil sir, patron Dr. Chetna Patil madam, Principal Dr. Hemant Pednekar, Organizing Committee member Professor Nahire, Dr. Sonamne, Professor Mahale, and Professor Ingole. Thank you to all of you for giving me this opportunity to present myself on the topic population and emerging issues of development. Now, when I'm going to speak about this particular topic, that is population and emerging issues of development, I must tell you that this particular presentation I made keeping in the view the chapter 3 or unit 3 of environmental studies of FY BCom. And similarly, more or less similar content is there in environmental geography of the TY BA. So the topics, those are there in these two units that I am trying to cover with some latest examples, latest data. So this is what I'm going to present today. So before I start with my presentation, I should salute two persons who helped me to get interested in population geography. And one is Mr. Han Rosling. If you go to YouTube and type this particular name, you will find very beautiful and interesting videos on population are there by this particular person. And definitely the way he present the population concepts, it is definitely worth to listen this or worth to see this particular videos. Second person who created interest of mine in population geography is Dr. R.C. Chandana. Sir is the best person to write and speak about the population geography. On few occasions, I met this particular person, that is Chandana sir, and definitely his views, his thoughts related to population helped me to create interest in this particular topic. So I will suggest all the teachers, students, if you want to study this particular topic, you should see the videos by Hans Rosling, and you should read the book, or at least see the book by R.C. Chandana. Definitely, it will help you to create interest in this particular subject. So with this, let's start now. Start with this particular map. This map is from the National Geographic, made with the help of satellite imageries, and the green area shows the empty areas of the world where population density is not even 2% per square kilometer. So start with this concept that still 70% Earth surface is empty. Our maximum concentration of population is on 30% surface of the Earth. 70% is still empty, but at present we cannot occupy it as it is associated with certain adverse environmental conditions, or those environmental conditions, those are not going to favor the human beings. So start with such type of positive thoughts. Still Earth is empty, but there are certain issues related to the present population. Another map I will try to show you, and I will ask my student to interpret or read at least, that is world population distribution by latitude and longitude. You can see this map and you can see how this population is distributed is mentioned in this particular map. So you can see here these gray areas of China, these gray areas related to India, some gray areas related to Africa, but here this particular section is mainly of European countries. So if you talk about the latitudes, you will find that maximum concentration of population is there in the northern hemisphere. In that northern hemisphere, it is between 10 degrees to 40 degrees north and south, north of the equator. So try to create an interest of student in this topic. Just don't start with the issues related to population. Start with some positive thoughts, and then you can introduce certain concepts related to the population. Because many times when we read the literature related to population, we are not in position to understand it because we are not clear with the concept. So what is crude birth rate? Why it is called as crude birth rate? It is nothing but the number of births taking place in 1,000 population in a period of 1 year. Now why it is called as crude? Because in this 1,000 group, we are taking all the people between year 0 to 100, and all are not there in reproductive age. So as we are taking the ratio out of 1,000, and this 1,000 includes the non-reproductive age group, we find that there is a need to call it as a crude. Crude means kacha birth rate. It's not the thing. So similarly, death rate, but in some books it is mentioned crude death rate. Death rate is not a crude. It is confirmed that out of 1,000, how many people are dying in a period of 1 year. Life expectancy, it is Ayurman, that is the potential of person to live after the birth on this particular surface of the earth. It is always expressed in years. Infant mortality rate, it is the mortality rate of the children below the age group, below the 1 year. Infant mortality rate, that we call it as a Bal Mrityu Praman. Okay. Then fertility rate, this is Prajanandar. This is Prajanandar. On an average, a female gives to birth to how many child live birth in the lifespan? That is what is fertility rate. So it can be 5 per female, it can be 2 per female, it can be 1 per female. So that is the fertility rate. That is Prajanandar. Immigration, that is the people are going out from a particular area. Immigration, the people are coming in a particular area. Net reproductive rate, it is nothing but birth rate minus death rate equals to net reproductive rate. Okay, it is equal to net productive rate. And growth rate of population in percentage, you can calculate for 10 years, you can calculate it for 1 year. So the present population minus past population divided by past population into 100, you will get the population growth rate. You may get it for 10 years. If you want for year, you divide that particular value by 10, you will get it per year. So these concepts of ours should be clear, and then we can start with this particular slide. That is, do you think the high density means poverty? Do you think the high density means population issues? Definitely not. And that's why I've given here the figures of population density of 2019. And as per these figures, Monaco is a small country, and that is with very high density of population. But there are some countries, those are small countries, city-sized countries, and these countries are associated with very high density of population. And here I have given the example of Singapore, Hong Kong, Bahrain, Netherlands, and definitely Japan, which was in the past was having higher density than India, but it got reduced. Now India's density as per 2019, 460. And definitely large population doesn't mean the issues or problem. If this population is healthy, if this population is skilled, and if the administration is using this skill efficiently. So let's start with the first concept related to population, and that is the world population explosion. Now this is very, very general term, and it is related to few areas of the world at present. Now, the population growth is depending on the birth rate and death rate. Whatever is the major difference between the birth rate and death rate, that decides the population growth rate. Now, we are taking the entire Earth, so we are not taking into consideration the migration concept. But if you speak about the man's history on the planet Earth, that Earth's origin around 4.6 billion years ago. And for a long period of time, Earth was not suitable for any living organism and so remained empty. Then gradually the climatic conditions got changed, and then the life came in water, then life came on the land. And then we can say the ape type of human being appeared on the surface Earth around 4 million years ago, whereas the Homo sapiens, we can say, appeared on this particular planet Earth around 2 million years ago. But in the initial stage, they were food gatherers and hunters. They were living in the caves, and definitely life expectancy was very, very short, maybe 25 years, maybe less than that. So there was very high birth rate, there was very high death rate. As a result of it, overall population was not increasing in this hunting and food gathering stage. Then since when population started increasing? It started increasing only after man started practicing sedentary agriculture. The agriculture, एका जागेवरती agriculture करायला सुरुवात केल्यानंतर population growth सुरू झाला, and that was around 10,000 years ago. That was in the fertile valleys of the world. So initial beginning of population is from the fertile river valleys. Then also the growth was not much. The major growth in population of the world started only after the Industrial Revolution. And when the Industrial Revolution started, the James Watt invented the first steam engine in 1780. And so 1781 onwards, we can say it is a time period of Industrial Revolution, initially in Europe and later on in other parts of the world. So since 1781 onwards, the major population growth started, and you can see how the population is increasing in the world. But in this, the important and interesting thing is that major growth of population is in less developed countries. It is in less developed countries. Whereas if you see the graph of developed countries, initially it increased, but since 1900 onwards, there is no major change. And since 2000 onwards, we find that population is in developed countries are gradually declining. It is gradually declining. So where is major issues of the population? It is there in both the worlds. It is there in less developed countries. It is there in more developed countries. How it is that even in the less developed countries, population problems that we are going to see. So this graph we can divide into 5 stages: stable, the period of high birth rate and high death rate, and it was before the agricultural revolution. The second period can be considered as a slow growth period, and that is between the agricultural revolution and 10,000 BC, that is up to the beginning of the up to 18th century, that is before the industrial revolution. The fast growth we can say between 18th century to 20th century, that is between industrial revolution to the end of the Second World War. And then after 1950, particularly in less developed countries, we find that the population started rapidly increasing because the birth rate was very high and death rate declined rapidly due to various reasons. And that what the process, the growth of population after 1950, we can say is the period of population explosion. And then we find that since 1990s, in many countries, majority of the countries, there is a declining trend of population. There is a declining trend of population. We can see this particular population growth with the help of these 2 websites. Those are mentioned here. One is World Population Meter. It is my request to all the students, those are watching this particular or listening this particular lecture, that go to this website, spend your 5 minutes, and you will see how the population is increasing in various parts of the world. Whereas the American History Museum is having a beautiful video on YouTube, and this video explains how the growth of population taken place. And to the teachers, I will say, show this video or ask the student to see this video, and on the next day you can ask some questions to them, or with this video link you send some question and ask your student to write the answers of these questions. So why we have to call it as a population explosion? See this particular graph and you will be in position to understand. Up to 18th century or up to 1800, the population of entire world was 1 billion. From 1 billion to 2 billion, it was taken 127 years. From 2 billion to 3 billion, it has taken 33 years. From 3 billion to 4 billion, it taken 14 years. And 5 billion to 6 billion, taken 12 years. 6 to 7 billion is 12 years. And at present, the population of the world, that is in 2020, it is approximately 7.68 billion. 7.68 billion, but definitely after 2040, the situation of population growth in the world will be definitely different. Now, why the population explosion took place in less developed countries, particularly countries of South America, countries of Africa, and countries of South Asia, Middle East. So here I mention number of factors responsible for it. That is high birth rate, and this high birth rate was because of high fertility rate, illiteracy, cultural factors, early marriages, poverty, and other socio-religious factors. While low death rate was there in the less developed countries, it was mainly because advancement of medicines, various efforts taken by the United Nations to provide the medical facilities to the poor countries, the efforts taken by the developed countries or the government of the own country to provide medical facilities to the people. On the other side, the literacy was improving, and with the improvement of literacy, people were getting aware about the hygienes, aware about the sanitation, aware about the water related issues, and all these factors reduce the death rate tremendously. So the gap between birth rate and death rate increased, and this gap resulted population explosion in the less developed countries. So in less developed countries where what growth is there, you see some figures, those are available. In Africa at present, the population is increasing at maximum rate, that is 58.4%, followed it by Middle East, followed it by Asian countries except China, Latin America. So these are the four areas: Africa, Middle East, Asia, and Latin America. These are the areas where population is increasing because of difference in birth rate and death rate, and that difference is very large. Whereas if you talk about this Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, that is the North America, China, Europe, and Pacific nations, that is Australia, New Zealand, except China, in this particular section, the population growth is mainly because of migration of the people from the poor countries, okay, for the employment or for education or for other reasons. So basically we find the population explosion and major population growth we find today in Africa, Middle East, South Asia, and some parts of Latin America. So same thing is explained in this graph, where what growth of population we find in 2014, okay, and you can see North America, Europe is just going towards zero. So this map you should explain it to the students, or student must read and try to find out why exactly in this section of Africa the population growth is taking place. Why in Afghanistan and Pakistan the population growth is taking place. Why in Mongolia the population growth is there. Why in New Papua Guinea population growth is there. Why in Madagascar population growth is very high. And there are definitely the causes behind this: poverty, illiteracy, and very, very high infant mortality rate. So another map shows the population fertility rate in different parts of the world, and you can see high fertility is only the major issue in Africa, where in other parts of the world fertility rate is declining with economic development, with improvement in literacy. So life expectancy, definitely behind the growth of population, life expectancy is a very, very important reason. In the past, life expectancy was around 30 years, 35 years, but now it has gone up. Now, how much up? If you take the countries like Canada, European countries, Japan, Australia, it is more than 80 years. Which was very less in the past. Today it has increased, or in the present situation it has increased. And so we find that life expectancy also plays very important role in population growth in a particular region or in a particular country. So life expectancy in 1800, life expectancy in 1950, life expectancy in 2015, one can see, and definitely this contribute towards the population growth, but it is a positive indicator. Increase in life expectancy is considered as very important aspect for the country's growth and development. So all the teacher, all the students should go to this particular site, that United Nations Population Fund, and here you can come across very important statistics related to the population. And statistics is so important, so good, that just if you do some analysis of this population with the help of simple statistical technique, you can write a good research paper on this particular population related aspect. So those are interested in research should visit this particular site, should collect the data from this particular site, and it is very good data, and you can write a research articles related to it. So let's come to the next part, that is demographic transition model. And this model given by Warren Thompson in 1929. This model is given by Warren Thompson in 1929. And this model is the outcome of two important population related aspects, that is birth rate and death rate. And so the country's population growth is divided into stages. The world population growth is divided into stages, and as per this model, there are 5 stages of population growth. Stage 1, high birth rate, high death rate. Majority of the nations of the world before 18th century was there in this particular stage. But even today, there are some countries, those are in this particular stage, like Sudan, Ethiopia. Okay, very high birth rate, very high death rate. Stage 2, that is stage of early expanding stage, high birth rate and rapidly falling death rate. Okay. Even today, some nations of sub-Saharan Africa are under this category, that is Malawi, Niger, Uganda, Qatar. Stage 3, the stage of late expanding growth, that is falling birth rate, falling death rate, and you can see in this stage we have India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka. Stage 4, that is low stationary stage, where low birth rate is there and death rate is also low, that is China, USA, UK, France. Here the population growth can be there, but it is because of mainly migration and not because of the natural growth. Stage 5, stage of population decline, birth rate is very low, death rate is lower than the birth rate, and as a result of it, every year the population is declining in this particular country. Germany, Japan, Norway, these are some of the nations, even that way Russia, where we find there is a decline in population because the birth rate is higher than that of, birth rate is lower than that of death rate. So one can see where exactly high birth rate is there, where exactly low death rate is there. Again, high African nations are with the high birth rate today. And so major issues related to population are in Africa, are in South Asia, are in Latin America. Now, if you speak about this particular model of demographic transition, very important aspect, one, we should point out that in this model, the Warren Thompson not taken into consideration a very important aspect of today's population, and that is the migration. That is the migration. Today, large-scale migration is there from underdeveloped countries to developed countries of Europe to the North American countries. The Australians and New Zealand people are migrating to Europe or to the North America. So migration also plays a very important role in the growth of population, and in demographic transition model, Warren Thompson not taken consideration of this particular very important aspect of the population. Now let us discuss about the population growth in India. Yes, India is number 2 in population in the world. Very soon we will be there as number 1. Okay. And as per the current estimation, out of 7.68 billion people, around 1.38 billion people are there in country India. Now here also country's growth of population we can divide into 4 stages. That is, we are not taking the history here, we are just taking the year since when the census started in the country. And census started in 1872, but the regular census in the country started only after 1891 onwards. So here the data is there from 1901 onwards, and we find that between 1901 to 1921, insignificant increase was there in the country's population because birth rate and death rate used to be very, very high in the country. From 31 to 41, we find the period of steady growth. The British colonial ruler established some medical colleges, started providing some health facilities. Indians were getting educated. That improved the life expectancy. And so between 31 to 41, period of steady growth. Birth rate high, death rate decline. 1951 to 71, independent country. And so definitely quite significant amount countries started spending on health and to solve the problems related to the people. Transport improvement taken place, number of hospitals increased, educational level increase. As a result of it, between 1951 to 71, we find that significant increase in our population took place. Significant increase in our population. 81 to 2011, period of population explosion, but here there is signs of decline. Since 1991 onwards, in some states, there is definitely signs of declining in the population. Okay, so today, if you look at our country, we find that this is what is the birth rate and death rate in our country over past 100 years or 100 plus years. And definitely we can see the major changes taken. 1911, birth rate was 49.2, death rate was 42.6, life expectancy, average life expectancy 22.6. It declined in 21 because of the endemics, that is plague and other diseases in 1917 and 18. And it declined to 19.6 life expectancy. Okay, and then 31 onwards, there is gradual increase, and at present it is around 68, but as per census 2011, it is 60.48 years. So major demographic changes are taking place in our country, and definitely these demographic changes are indicating some positive aspects related to population and population related issues. So population growth of India. So one should explain this map to the student, or one should understand this particular map. Now just see this map. Population issue in our country is mainly there in Bimaru states. Bihar, Jharkhand, Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, part of Madhya Pradesh. Chhattisgarh, you can say here, Meghalaya, but in Meghalaya, the population is mainly because of migration. There is an issue. Okay, but the southern states, here we find there is good control on the fertility rate, good control on infant mortality rate, and so we find the population growth is very, very insignificant in the southern states. So one should explain this particular thing. So you should talk about density and distribution, and then some these aspects related to the population. So this is what is. Now, what our country did to control the population, because our country is facing quite good number of problems related to the population. So what measures country taken towards the control on population? Our country is the first country in the world which launched the family planning, and that was way back in 1952. Then a separate department for family planning was established in 1966. Separate minister is there. Okay. Then during the time of emergency, that is 1976, policy came into existence, and many old people knows what was that policy. It was related to compulsory sterilization, and the health department vehicles used to come and used to take the people from the villages and city areas, and they were taken for the sterilization. So that was there. But afterwards, after the emergency, we adopted the policy where very good measures taken to control the population. As a result of it, we can say legislation passed a rule and marriage age increased to 18 for the girls and 21 for the boys. Most important thing, the special measures taken to improve the level of female literacy in the country. Because it has been observed that if female is literate, then definitely the fertility rate declines. She takes the major decisions. And so female education became the priority. Not only that, various family welfare schemes got introduced in the country. Various family welfare schemes got introduced country. The rural health centers got penetrated in various parts of the country. And as an outcome of this, we came with the population policy in 2000. And then some changes in this population policy was there in 2012. And we kept the target to reduce the fertility rate in the country from 5.87 in 60 to 2.1. And if a female goes for 2.1 kids, the population growth will not be there. At present, it is 2.5. So some target we have fixed under this particular policy. Why people was going for more number of children? Because of very high infant mortality rate. Out of 1,000 live births in 1960, 165 infants were dying before the age of 1. Now the infant mortality rate came down to 38 out of 1,000 live births in 2015. But still it is very high. If you go to developed country, it is below 20. And if the parents are going to get assurance that their kid is going to survive, it is not going to die, then definitely it will reduce the fertility rate. So steps taken, measures taken to control the infant mortality rate. Immunization programs were arranged. The pregnancy care by the government started in the rural areas. Okay, so these measures taken, definitely some measures were there related to rural development, employment schemes like Manekra and others. And these were to control the migration towards the urban areas. So in the family planning programs of the country, there were clinical approach, there were extension approaches, there were integrated approaches, and there were camp approaches. So various types of approaches were involved in this population policy, but definitely there were no compulsions. And so implementation was a big issue, but definitely with improvement in literacy, with improvement in standard of living, we find that the people are going for 1 or 2 kids, and that way we find that there is quite substantial decline in the growth of population in southern states or many states of India. Now, what are the problems? If population is high, overpopulation is there. There can be economic problems, there can be social problems, there can be political problems, there can be environmental problems. If you talk about the economic problem, low per capita income, poverty, unemployment, land fragmentation, pressure on infrastructure, poor quality of infrastructure, these are some of the problems related to overpopulation. Social problem, Food and social security can be the issue. Migration will be there from high densely populated areas to the other areas, or from poor areas to the relatively developed areas. Political issues can be there like civil unrest, a local versus outsiders issue, and other such type of issue. And definitely there are some environmental issues in the country, and they are the big concerns at present. That is depleting resources such as soil, water, quality of air, spread of certain diseases. These are certain kinds of issues we face in the areas where population is high. So these are some of the things. Now, if you speak about present human being and the deaths or causes of the deaths of the human being due to the environmental factors, quite good number of environmental factors are increasing the human health related issues, because the environment is not clean, environment is polluted, and as a result of these poor environmental conditions, various human health related issues are increasing in the world. I have statistics of 2007, and this statistics is taken from the United Nations website. And let's see, because of the environmental issues in various parts of the world, how many people are dying each and every year. And so if you see these statistics, it clearly shows unsafe water kills around 17 lakh people annually. Statistic 2017. Poor sanitation and hygiene, the data is not available, but quite substantial number of people are dying because of it. Just malaria, which is very important, this is in tropical area, kills around 12 lakh people annually, maximum number of them in Africa. And you can think about dengue and other kinds of diseases. Indoor smoke, that is most of the time, or even today, 50 to 55% people cook their daily food from the wood or coal. And so there is indoor smoke in the house, and due to that particular smoke, we find that 16 lakh people die annually. Urban air pollution kills around 8 lakh people. At present, only 55% population of the world is in urban area. Very soon it will increase to 70%, 80%. So you can say with this particular growth of urbanization, more and more people will suffer by urban air pollution if corrective steps are not taken. Road traffic injuries and death due to that, 12 lakh. Lead exposure, 2.3 lakhs. Climate change impact, particularly in poor countries of the world, 1.5 lakhs. Unintentional poisoning, that is spraying pesticides, etc., on crops, etc., that is 3.55 lakhs. Cancer death, 9.6 million. So definitely the environmental conditions, if there is no cleanliness, if there is contaminated air, contaminated water, quite good number of deaths also are because of the environmental condition. And it is possible to control these particular deaths by improving the environmental conditions. So these are the urban slums in city Mumbai. You can see in the front side, this is what is smoke coming out. Okay, and then to measure the level of human development, since 1990, the index got developed, that is Human Development Index. Okay, previously human development was measured only with the help of per capita GDP or per capita income, but in 1990 it has been realized that this is not the correct way to measure the human development. And so Mahbub Al Haq from Pakistan and Amartya Sen from India, both are teaching in Oxford, they came together, came with the concept of Human Development Index, and they used three indicators: health indicator, education indicator, and standard of living indicator. Health indicator they taken, that is life expectancy. Education indicator they take, that is the mean year of schooling, and standard of living indicator they take the GNP per capita, and they started giving the values of human development. United Nations taken this particular indicator to judge the level of development in the country, and every year the report comes, and as per 2019 reports, definitely very high level of human development we find in northwestern European countries like Norway, Switzerland, whereas medium level we find in European countries, Eastern European countries, whereas low human development index we find in countries like India, Bangladesh, Pakistan. And this particular map clearly indicates where there is high human development and where there is low human development. So definitely South Asia, Africa are the countries with very low human development. And here the major issue is lower life expectancy, illiteracy or less mean level of mean years of education and other things. Now, after human development index started and the statistics started coming in 2011 in UN General Assembly, the Bhutan king spoken about World Happiness Index. He said in many countries of Asia, there is a joint family, there is a social security provided by the community. And so the indicators of the human development are not indicating clearly the level of development. And so he came with the World Happiness Index, and four important aspects he incorporated for it, that is sustainable development, preservation and promotion of cultural values, conservation of natural environment, and establishment of good governance. And as per these four pillars, the first report came in 2012. Only problem of this particular indicator or this particular report, that most of the criteria those are taken to judge the level of happiness are qualitative criteria, not the quantitative. Now, if you see the Human Development Index, the criteria are quantitative, so it is possible to get some number. But if you see the criteria, those involved in World Happiness Index, they are qualitative criteria, and one number is not there. So we have to take it tentative as good, bad, moderate, such type of scheme we have to use. And on the basis of that, afterwards some indicators also came in. Okay, we find that again most happy countries are Finland, Denmark, Norway. Moderately happy countries are Kazakhstan, Croatia, Hong Kong. Unhappy countries, those are with poor World Happiness Index, where Sudan, Central African Republic. India's number in this World Happiness Index is much lower than that of the HDI index. It is 140. Okay, so definitely these are some of the attempts to judge the level of development of the human beings by the various authorities. You can see this particular map, but still we find that the indicators are not clearly defining the level of development. Let's take example of Indian state. This is a map of India showing the level of HDI in 2018. Now you can see this map, and you can see the next map. This map shows the level of HDI in 2000. So definitely gradual changes are taking place. Changes are happening, and definitely in very short span of time, this population will not remain as a burden. It will become a resource, a quality resource, a skill resource, and this population of India will solve many issues related to environment, and definitely steps are taken. The things are going on that we find that major changes are taking place in the country. And with this, I will say Thank you. Thank you very much. These are the references I used for this particular presentation. So with this, I thank the Vikramgarh College, Patil sir, Pednekar sir, Nahire sir, and other organizing committee members for providing me this opportunity. On the first page, I mentioned my email. So if anyone needs any type of help, any data or even PPT, I will be happy to provide this to you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Nahire sir, over to you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. It's a very informative session, and just you give the details about the world population as well as the emerging issues of the development, as well as also you touched the point of the current pandemic of the corona. So now I request to all the participants, please, if there is any query, now it is a question answer session now. If any query is there, any question is there, just you can ask to Dr. Prakash Dongre sir. One of the question is there, sir.
Okay.
Sir, you heard me? Yes, sir. One of the question is from Shambhavi Pandey. She asks that if we talk about the death and birth rate in this pandemic situation, what will be the scenario of the world population?
Definitely, death rate is increasing. When it will stop, this particular pandemic, we don't know, or no one knows it. We are trying to get the various because vaccines, but yet the vaccines are not there. So definitely this particular pandemic will affect the death rate, but with death rate, a positive impact one should see that people since this pandemic are thinking more about hygiene, environmental conditions, health and related things. And so definitely improvement are taking place. Those people were not regularly practicing yoga or were not doing exercises. We find that now many of them started eating healthy, started taking proper rest, started practicing certain kinds of exercises, trying to improve the immunity. So definitely after this pandemic, major demographic changes will be there. And definitely there will be positive changes. Next.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Is there any question? Bansode, sir? Professor Bansode? One of the question is this.
Yes, Nahire sir.
Yes, sir. Please ask the question, sir. Please ask.
There are no questions on YouTube link.
Thank you.
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
Here one question is there, sir. From the Manisha Mishra. Sir, what is the best conclusion to the world that population increase is good of the environment or decrease in population?
Actually, there is no concept of good or bad thing about the population. The population should be optimal. Now I have shown you the density data. Netherlands or Finland is having more population than us. Okay. But in spite good high density of population, or let's take Hong Kong. Okay. Hong Kong is having higher population density than us, but the population of Hong Kong, because of the environmental conditions or the process adopted by the government, is considered as an optimum population. So population can be large, but if the things are there for the people, if they are keeping the environment in a safe condition, non-polluting condition, it is good. So high population or low population is not issue. Many African nations are having very low population, but in spite of low population, the death rate and other issues are there. So population should not be overpopulation. Population should not be underpopulation. Population should be optimum population. So one should think always about optimum population and maximum care of the environment.
Okay. Thank you, sir. One question is there, sir. Again.
बोलो सर.
The question is that, sir, uh, does Malthusian theory of the population is relevant in 21st century?
Yes, we can see that now.
Yeah.
Malthus, whatever spoke,
Yeah.
there will be a high population, and this high population will be high birth rate, and then one day will become that there will be pandemics or there will be some kind of catastrophic events, and these catastrophic events will lead to increase in death rate, and that is what is happening. So in between Malthus and 2020, we have improved our technology. We were thinking that our technology, our medicines, our health system will control the death rate. But Corona proved it that yes, still there is a need of improvement. And definitely the Corona at present is not having any scientific path of treatment. So definitely concepts of Malthus will be there and will remain.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, sir. One question is there, sir. Is immigration and emigration is necessary?
Yes, definitely. Now, for growth of urban centers like Mumbai, if people would have not migrated to Mumbai, it would have not grown. Now, entire Europe is facing the problem of declining population, and so the old people are moved. Okay, the working
Yeah.
population is less in Europe. Now, who is working in Europe? It is the migrants; those are going from Asia and Africa. They are working for the old people. So definitely migration is necessary. And why people migrate? Everyone has right to improve the standard of living. And for that, they have to migrate. So people will migrate from Uttar Pradesh to the urban areas. People will migrate from India to US or other. So it will. But it should be what we say voluntary type of migration. It should not be compulsory or forced migration. Forced migration results quite a good number of human related issues. For example, Rohingyas migration or migrations of Africans into the European countries. Okay. Or the migration of Syrian population to the European countries. Such type of forced migration again creates number of human related issues. Next, sir.
Okay. Thank you, sir. There are also questions from the participants, but due to the time limit, so
Thank you, sir. Thank
yeah,
you.
sir. Very,
Thanks
very
to
much.
all of you for listening this particular issue.
Sir, for the last formal program, just I request to Professor Dr. Sonone, VS, HOD of the History Department, please do the vote of thanks of this webinar, sir. Professor Sonone, Vinod. Did you hear me, sir? Sonone, sir.
हो धन्यवाद
Okay,
सर.
Okay.
कला वाणिज्य विज्ञान महाविद्यालय गोंदे, तालुका विक्रमगड, जिल्हा पालघर यांनी एक नॅशनल लेवलची वेबिनारची एक मालिका सुरू केलेली. आजही त्याच्यातलाच एक भाग म्हणून इतिहास विभाग आणि भूगोल विभाग यांच्या संयुक्त विद्यमानाने पॉप्युलेशन इमर्जन्सी इश्यू ऑफ डेव्हलपमेंट हा नॅशनल लेवलचा वेबिनार आयोजित करण्यात आला आणि हा वेबिनार पूर्णपणे यशस्वी होतो आहे असं मला दिसून येते. या वेबिनारसाठी ज्यांचे मार्गदर्शन, ज्यांची प्रेरणा, ज्यांचा पाठिंबा भेटला ते म्हणजे आमचे संस्थेचे अध्यक्ष श्री व्ही.ची पाटील साहेब यांचे या ठिकाणी आभार व्यक्त करणे हे माझं मी कर्तव्य समजतो. त्यांचं प्रोत्साहनामुळेच आम्ही हे अशा पद्धतीचे धाडस करत असतो आणि हा वेबिनार यशस्वी होत असतो. त्याच पद्धतीने संस्थेचे कार्याध्यक्ष सुरेश कनोजे सर यांचेही या ठिकाणी आभार व्यक्त करतो. डॉक्टर चेतना पाटील मॅडम यांनी वेबिनारची एक मालिका सुरू केली आणि आम्हाला त्याच्यातून प्रोत्साहन भेटलं. ते वेळात वेळ काढून या ठिकाणी महाविद्यालयाविषयी प्रस्तावना केली आणि त्यांची प्रेरणा, त्यांचं मार्गदर्शन आम्हाला भेटत असतं. त्यांचेही या ठिकाणी मी आभार व्यक्त करतो. महाविद्यालयाचे प्राचार्य एच.एम. पेंडेकर सर, डॉक्टर एच.एम. पेंडेकर सर यांचा सतत पाठिंबा, सहकार्य, प्रोत्साहन आणि त्यामुळे हा वेबिनार पूर्णपणे यशस्वी होताना दिसत आहे. आणि आजच्या कार्यक्रमाचे प्रमुख वक्ते अत्यंत व्यस्त दिवसभराचा कार्यक्रम असतानाही त्यांनी हा वेबिनार रद्द न करता त्याचा टाइम चेंज केला. असे डॉक्टर प्रकाश डोंगरे सर, नागेशदास खांडेलवाल कॉलेज मालाड मुंबई, त्यांनी अत्यंत सुंदर पद्धतीने प्रेझेंटेशन करून सोप्या शब्दात आणि पीपीटीच्या माध्यमातून जो विषय अतिशय समजण्यास अवघड आहे तो सोप्या पद्धतीने सांगितला. हा विषय सोशल सायन्स पुरताच मर्यादित नाहीये, तर संपूर्ण भारतीयांसाठी, जगासाठी हा एक चिंतेचा विषय आहे, लोकसंख्या. पण त्यांनी ज्या पद्धतीने प्रेझेंटेशन केलं त्यामुळे हा कार्यक्रम त्यांच्या प्रेझेंटेशनमुळे आमच्यापर्यंत आणि सर्व सहभागी प्राध्यापक, विषयप्रेमी यांच्यापर्यंत पोहोचलेला आहे. त्याबद्दल मी डॉक्टर प्रकाश डोंगरे सर यांचे विशेष आभार मानतो महाविद्यालयाकडून. तसेच महाविद्यालयाचे नामदेव माहले सर आणि प्राध्यापक सचिन इंगोले सर यांनी टेक्निकल जो सपोर्ट केलेला आहे त्याबद्दलही मी त्यांचे या ठिकाणी आभार व्यक्त करतो. आणि विशेष म्हणजे या कार्यक्रमाची प्रस्तावना, सूत्रसंचालन, कार्यक्रमाचं नियोजन प्राध्यापक दिनेश नरे सर यांनी अत्यंत छान पद्धतीने केले, त्याबद्दलही मी त्यांचे या ठिकाणी आभार व्यक्त करतो. या कार्यक्रमामध्ये प्राध्यापक भीमराव बनसोडे सर यांचं सहकार्य, सहभाग या ठिकाणी होता, त्याबद्दलही त्यांचे या ठिकाणी मी आभार व्यक्त करतो. आणि सर्वात महत्त्वाचं म्हणजे सर्वत्र वेबिनार चालू असताना मोठ्या संख्येने नॅशनल लेवलच्या या वेबिनारला भारतातून वेगवेगळ्या भागातून सहभागी